22, so now I think we're at 20 tablespoons of flour. I might be wrong, but I think it's 20. See that gluten starting to develop? This is what you want. You want to work your dough while it's wet and get that gluten developing. That's what's going to make your bread not crumbly and fall apart. Alright, I'm going to add some more flour in here. That was one. Now, keep in mind where you live, making bread is by feel, not by measurements. And when it comes to the flour. But depending upon where you live and the aridness of your air, you know, if you're humid or dry, it's going to make a big difference on how much flour you use. See the difference 1 tablespoon can make in that dough ball? Isn't that crazy? I'm going to put another one in here. I think that was 22. Now I have lost track. But you see what I'm doing. You see what I'm getting at. When it does that, and it starts to partially, you don't want it all to stay on the dough hook, but when it partially stays on the dough hook, okay, this is how I want it to be. Actually, 1 more tablespoon. This is so hard to do when you're trying to measure. Alright, that's it. That's the last of the flour I'm going to put in there. Because remember, I'm going to be working a little bit more flour into it when I get it out of the bowl. Now, if I was in an SHTF situation, I would be doing all this by hand. Thank God I have this mixer, at least for me to practice, and I understand. I know what I need to look for. See the elastic? See the gluten? Beautiful. That's what you want it to do. You want it to be stretchy and elastic. I'm actually comfortable putting 1 last tablespoon. Okay. We're almost there. Alright, that's it. See how the top of the thing, the dough ball is climbed all the way up to the top of the mixer, the dough hook? Alright, I am ready to set the timer for 10 minutes and just let it knead like this for 10 minutes. And I'll come back to you. Hey guys, Army Wife back here with the next part of my bread. I'm sorry this has taken so many parts, but I just really wanted to go through the bread. Okay, this has been kneading in here for 10 minutes. And I know some people are going to say, that's too sticky. No, it's not. Trust me. Okay? I'm going to shut it off. And I'm going to drop my bowl. And I'm going to pull my... Can you see? Let's see. Can you see okay, the bowl? Okay. So, get my oil out. I'm gonna get my, and I just refill all my little bottles, as I have a gigantic thing of olive oil in my refrigerator, and I need to start my oven, preheat my oven. Sorry, it just dawned on me that I hadn't done that yet. I'm gonna put a little oil on my hands, my olive oil, just a teeny tiny bit. And I'm going to pull this dough off of here. Okay? And this is going to go in the sink. Now, when you guys see this bread when it's done, and how really, you guys are watching it literally from start to finish, because I'm not stopping and starting the camera other than to allow for my uploads, because, you know, YouTube won't allow me to upload more than, I think it's 15 minutes now, but I got some olive oil on my counter. Okay, I just put some flour on here and just kind of spread out. It's not thick. It's not a pile of flour. It's just a real light dusting of flour, okay? So I'm going to pull my dough out of my bowl. And let me tell you something, baking good bread is a workout. If you want to make really good bread that's nice and stretchy and it doesn't fall apart on your sandwich and you can slice it thin, it's going to be hard work. I mean, you're going to get your arms worked out, okay? So I'm going to take my spatula and get the rest of this dough out of here. And making bread is also very messy. When you get the hang of it after a while, you start to use less utensils because you don't have to measure everything anymore. You just kind of like dump stuff in there. And you can eyeball it. And that's pretty much how I've gotten with making bread. Now, this is going to go over to my sink. Alright, now, this bread, this dough ball that I just took out of here that's already been kneaded in the KitchenAid for 10 minutes doesn't need to be kneaded a whole lot. But what I'm doing is I'm just making a nice, pretty dough ball. I want to show you the texture. Now, can you see the texture of that? How smooth it is? It's not lumpy, it's nice and smooth and elastic, and there's no tears in it, no breaks in it. That's when you know you have the perfect amount of flour. Okay? Alright, so this bowl was already warm because I started out with warm water. So I'm not going to dirty another bowl. Basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come in here and I'm going to put my spatula in the sink and kind of make sure there's no major balls of flour or anything in there. I don't want to disrupt my process here. And I'm going to take this bowl that I used already and I'm going to dump just a tablespoon or so of olive oil in the bottom of it. Okay, and then I'm going to wipe it around the edges and I'm going to oil up this bowl. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put, and also you want to work kind of fast because you want your dough ball to stay warm. Okay, I got a little bit of oil on my ball. Okay, and I'm going to take my dough ball. It's nice and oiled. Okay, nice and pretty. I'm going to slap that sucker back in the bowl. Pat it down. I'm going to use a tea towel. These towels, these are flour sack towels, and these are my dedicated bread towels. Nobody in my house would dare do these for even so much as to wipe their hands with. These are just for bread baking. Now I just set my and see, I just wipe my hands on it because I'm talking and not thinking, but it's me. I can do what I want, I guess. Yeah, I'm drinking Pepsi. Okay, so I've got it sitting on my stove. I've got my oven preheating, and this is a loaf of bread that I did on Saturday. This is white bread. My daughter came over, and there's my French bread. My daughter came over, and she was supposed to take this home with her, and she forgot. But see how nice and thin you can get that slice? Now I cheat. I have a slicer, and I will show you my slicer. It's not expensive at all, but it is great. And I saw one of these actually at Bass Pro Shop. I think we got ours at the PX. I don't remember. The blade doesn't spin terribly fast. The blade is serrated, and it cuts bread great. It was like 30 bucks. So, makes perfect sandwich slices. You can actually adjust it to make it any size you want. So, I will be coming back to you after this is risen and I'm ready to stick it in the loaf pans. Be back. Okay guys, this is the Army Wife. I'm back and my dough has gone double in size. Stick my fingers in there. If the holes stay, it means it's ready to be dumped up. I don't know why that is. I just have always seen people do that, and I'm not even sure it's necessary. I think if you just tapped on it and indentation stays, then that's probably good enough. We could even make a little smiley face. Anyway. Okay, so we're going to take this out, and I'm going to put you back up on your... Okay, so I'm going to take a little more flour and just kind of sprinkle it on there. Oops, you can't see. Sorry. Can you see now? Sprinkle it on there lightly. Very, very, very lightly. You don't want a lot of flour in there. Okay? Now I'm just going to dump this out. Okay? And I'm going to flip it over. And I'm going to press it out. And what I'm doing is just pushing the air bubbles out, because there's, you know, really big air bubbles in there. Alright, so we got all of our air out of there. Now I'm going to take my knife, and this is the knife I've been using for the bread. It's got a little butter on it, but and I'm going to cut this in thirds. Cut this like that. And this is my last third. I'm just going to put it back in the bowl. And and then here's the two that are going to be my loaves. Okay? Alright. So there are as many techniques on how to form a loaf, I think, than there is actual bread bakers out there. And this is how I do mine. This is my smaller of my two, and I always put a slit in the top because it just gives it more room to expand. Okay, so voila, number one. Okay, and here is number two. Some people like rustic bread, and I do like rustic bread, but for a sandwich, maybe it's just because I grew up in the Wonder Bread era. I don't know. I like my bread to be soft and pretty. And it's okay to like it like that. You know, not everybody has to be the perfect rustic cook and everything is all good. You know, sometimes it's just a matter of what looks. Food has a lot to do with appeal, and you eat with your eyes first, so it's okay to make your food. I've got my tea towel going over the top of them. They're going back on the top of the oven that is preheated, so it's warm. Okay, here is my last third of my dough. Okay, and one thing about dough is if you'll know when you haven't put too much flour in it, because you can work it and it's not splitting on you. It's see if I can. It's not splitting. It's just nice and workable. Okay.